What's up everyone, Doyler here, and I am back with my thoughts on the new hero Tix, the current event, as well as some value analysis for the current packages that will be at the end of the video for those of you that are afraid of math. So, for starters, we've got the events that I spoiled on Tuesday, Autumn Blessings, and I'll cover the value of this at the end, Standard Palace of Eternity, where I have no crystals to use, Palace of Crystal, where you unlock more crystals to use for swaps, Continuation of Blacksmith, Puppet Package, which I bought and will cover the value, and Standard Summoning Events. So, with that out of the way, let's cover the new hero Tix. So first, let's take a look at his skins. We got this cool little blue one, awesome animation. He looks like Carrie's little brother, or Carrie's just brother in general. Got these blue ghost arms, a really cool tombstone. I love his animations and just the look of him. 6-star, not quite as cool looking, but still a fan of the hero. Got some green Hulk arms, some little spiky chains, purple hat, and his monster looks a bit sicker, and the tombstone grows a bit more. And finally, we have the 10-star, just a gross looking tombstone. The ghosts are creeping out. He's got this little demon bell looking thing to his right almost. So it's got one eye. Let's take a look at demon bell too. Is that actually a demon bell? That kind of looks like a demon bell, right? We got the tail and the two eyes. Kind of cool, if that is. No. Yeah, not quite. Alright, so that's what he looks like. You guys already could have seen that on your own. Let's cover his stats, his skills, my thoughts on him, where I see him fitting, and some possible builds. As you can see from my hero portrait light-ups, I don't have a Tix on my main account yet. I've only done a little bit of testing with him, so some of this is going to be speculation. I'll also include links in the description to some of Barry and GDP's videos, as they wailed a bit harder than me last night as I was streaming something else, but I know people have asked me my thoughts, and I do want to start covering these new heroes, even if I don't push for them. So, first of all, let's cover his basic stats. His speed is 1218, which is super quick for a non-assassin. This is going to tie him with speed with Russell and Carrie. He'll be faster than Sherlock, Garuda, and Belrain, and he will be slower than Rogan and all of the other assassins. Additionally, since he is Shadow, he is going to be using that Dark Speed statue. So if you've been leveling that Dark Speed statue for your carries, this is also going to benefit Tix. The speed ties will work the same way as they have been for your carries, assuming you build him the same. Being faster than Sherlock is great, because you don't have to worry about doves, although tying with Carrie means on defense, you are going to lose that speed tie, and you could have your energy drained. Attack-wise, he comes in at 24,672 base. For comparisons to other damage dealers in the meta, Russell is a little higher at 25,178, and Garuda is a lot lower. Garuda is I believe I have Garuda's attack wrong in my notes. That number looks a bit high. Okay, Garuda is 25,141. So he's a little bit lower damage than Russ and Garuda, but I think he makes up for it with some of his other skills and abilities. I do see him being mostly a damage dealer, but I'll cover his roles in a little bit. HP-wise, he's got 583,000. This is closer to Garuda's 600,000 and much higher than Russell's 513,000 base. So he is a tanky boy when it comes to damage dealers. Finally, armor-wise, he's a little low with 631. I think that's comparable to Russ's. Yeah, 629. So basically the same armor as Russ, with no DR. So he'll be a bit more hit point heavy, but a little less squishy than Russell as far as damage dealers go. So, passive-wise, his last passive is his Death Explosion. So when he dies, he inflicts the enemy who killed Tix with Revenging Wraith. And also, if you've not seen these new skill descriptions, they are great. Instead of paragraphs and paragraphs of text, they now highlight a word and then define it down below. This is also going to be for CC powers, so Sherlock is much easier to read. So, Revenging Wraith adds a tiny little ghost to the enemy who killed Tix, and when the round ends, it'll do 30% of the target's max HP. Forever. This is until the target dies, so against characters like Rogan, this won't kill him, but it is going to tick him every round over and over and over again. That says, if this target does die, it explodes, similar to Mim, and will do 30% of max HP to any remaining enemies. And it does cap at 2500% of Tix attack. I don't really see this cap being hit that often, but it is possible. This is honestly not the most interesting skill on Tix, especially not at E5. I'll cover some ideas for it later on. Initially, I thought it could be used for Mim Cheese, but looking at his hit points and his armor, Tix is not going to really work in Mim Cheese. He's tankier than Mim, so your Mims are going to die before Tix, and then their explosions are going to happen, and it's not going to matter. That said, if Tix does die, it's a nice sort of safety net, a little bit extra damage if your Tix does die before some of your other heroes. Next up, we have his next passive skill. So the first one is really interesting. So when the round ends, if an enemy has higher attacks than Tix, he will swap attacks with them for 1 round. Now this is random. It does not target the highest enemy attack. It just targets an enemy at random with higher attack than Tix. So this is nice just to really benefit his attack, or if you swap with like a higher attack Russell, something like that, it is pretty nice. And it can prevent some extra damage or healing from the opponent. It is not controllable, so it's not incredible, but it is a nice benefit. And his basic attack is going to be important because, as you know, carries are still very prevalent in the meta. So if a hero can't do anything with their basics and passives, not that great. So his basic attack targets the enemy with the highest attack, deals 180% of Tix's attack as damage, and additional damage based on 600% of the target's attack, as well as performing some attack reduction, 40% for 2 rounds. This is huge. This means Tix's basic attack is going to be useful, and he can still survive in a carry meta. I'll cover his whole kit afterwards, but this basic attack is incredible for PvE, and still really good in PvE. A lot of these high attack heroes are going to be Russell, especially with an A and B, Carrie, and Belrain. So Russ, you're going to be taking less damage. Carrie, Mark's going to hurt you less. Belrain, not going to be healing as much. So this is a huge secondary effect, as well as just, it hits really hard. I've seen 2-3 million hits in PvE, PvP, with just a basic attack, which is awesome. Additionally, and I just want to note this now, the attack steal is a debuff. That's going to be important later. Finally, his active skill deals 800% attack against 4 random enemies, and an additional 800% attack based on the opponent. So, if the enemy has higher attack than Tix, this is going to be even bigger than a Russell active, because Russell does 1600% based on his own attack. So if Tix does 1600%, but half is based on his attack, half is based on your opponent's. So anyone with low attack, this is going to do less damage than Russell, but anyone with higher, this will be even bigger. Again, he steals 25% of attack from all 4 targets. You're going to be neutering your opponent's team and making your team a little more tanky and sustainable. Finally, the secondary effect on this is so cool, and I hope they continue doing something like this. So he has a 50% chance to inflict silence if the opponent's energy is above 90, and horrify if their energy is less than 90 for 2 rounds. This is really cool because you don't get that issue where you get a useless CC. So Aspen, who I've used in a lot of my tower runs, Aspen only does horrify. Unfortunately, if you horrify an opponent with 100 energy, it does nothing. They fire off their active, doesn't matter. Tix has a dual mode CC that tries to prevent the opponent from doing any attacks for 3 rounds based on their current energy. Now, if you horrify an opponent, feed them energy, they are going to be able to fire it off. Or if you silence an enemy, drain them, they are going to be able to fire it off. But it's still a little bit better of a CC than pure horrify or pure silence. So this is really cool, and I'm excited to see how it works. I think it will be decent CC for the current meta. So, now that we've covered his skills, I think Tix fits into technically 3 roles. I do think 2 are going to be better than the third one. The first one is going to be just a pure attacker / damage dealer. He's going to fit in the same slot as like a Russell or a Garuda on your team. As you can see, this active is huge. He does a huge clap, does a ton of damage. I think this will be his main role on teams. with a side benefit of some CC and some debuffing, but primarily as a attacker. So in this case, you'll probably want to build him like speed attack stone, AMB if you have some extras, and something like 3-2-3-3-2. So speed enables because he is super quick, and you do want purify on him so he can hopefully get that active off or just remove any debuffs, and a little bit of attack from the second enable. The next sort of build you could go for him is sort of build around his debuffs and his crowd control. So also the first build you'll probably go full mage. You might go 2-2 depending on your meta and survivability. Next up is more of a support hero. So instead of replacing your Russ, throw him to a support role. Maybe instead of your second carry, your second Sherlock, someone like that. So build him 2-2 with a Rui and just sort of go all in on him, debuffing your opponents and maybe crowd controlling them to let your Russells pop off. I think he can work in this. I do think he's a little better as an attacker with a side of CC than CC as a side of attacker. But I do think it's still viable. You could also go speed HP on that build and go all in on having low attack and stealing more. But I think speed attack is going to be a little bit better to make him hit harder. Finally, the last option is a suicide bomber, similar to Mimcheese or even in Mimcheese. The biggest problem with this is, as I said, he is super tanky, and I do recommend you watch some other people videos running him at E5. And E5 Tix is an absolute monster. He's got so many hit points, and if you have any sustain on your team, he's going to outlast your Mims, which does not work. That said, an idea I do want to personally test is, instead of replacing an Emily, replace one of your 3 Mims. So your ideal Mim team is 3 Emilys, 3 Mims. Drop one of the Mims for a 9-star Tix. So you'll still have a max Revenging Wraith, and hope that he can die a little sooner than the Mims and just steal some attack and do huge damage. So I would even run him with a energy artifact, hopefully steal attack, die in round 1, feed the Mim death passive, and then Revenging Wraith on his own. I think he could at least be comparable to your third Mim, if not potentially better. It's also more of a budget build. Instead of 3 E5 Mims, you run E5 Mim, 9-star Tix. I think that's the way he can work in a Mimcheese team, since his death passive is going to be based on their max HP versus his attack, and if you can steal some attack before he dies, his attack will be higher. Worth a shot, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's the only real way he fits into sort of one of these cheese Mim teams. So, other than that, he is going to be an absolute monster in PvE, and that's where my expertise is for now for the most part, and this is what I'm most excited about. So first of all, his damage is based on your opponent's attacks. So Tower of Oblivion, Aspen Dungeon, Seal Land, Flame Shrine, Broken Spaces. This is going to be huge damage. These enemies have higher attacks than PvP, and you are going to be clapping them for enormous amounts of data. Second, he steals attacks, so you're going to be neutering all of these much stronger opponents in all of these high-level PvE modes. And third, and the one that I really want to play with some more, his attack steal is a debuff. So, if it's possible to get enough damage out of him, you could maybe remove Heartwatcher for some like the Delacium army teams. Or Rogan. So you replicate his attack steal to neuter the enemy, similar like you do with Heartwatcher, and shoot off some monstrous actives using all of his stolen attack. I don't know if he'll replace Heartwatcher because her mark does increase your team's damage, so that is going to hurt your Delaciums and your Athakwas. But if he could replace Rogan and do some huge damage, I don't know. I feel like there's some way to make him fit in a Delacium army team, or really any PvE team, but I'm not sure if he can outright replace Heartwatcher's increased damage portion of her mark. If so, that would be super cool. And Aspen Dungeon, I think he's going to be an absolute monster. This attack is going to clap. He will be able to one-shot waves with the DP based on the secondary effect, and I think his attack steal will make him be able to clear some easier waves without a DP, so I'm really looking forward to running him. For PvE, we're probably going to run him either Holy Attack or Crit Attack. Probably a 3-1 setup. And standard 2-2-3, 2-2 enables, and probably a regular attack-based artifacts, so your Antlers Canes, your Punisher Staff, whatever you've got after your other damage dealers. I don't think he'll outdamage heroes like Russ and Garuda in endgame Flame Shrine of Broken Spaces, but there is a chance he can, since his active will be based on opponent's attack. So worth a try. I'll probably try some E5 Tix boost lineups like my Garuda lineup. So Tix, Belrain, Deathsworn, Drake, Olivia, and someone else. Should be fun to try. Some final thoughts on Tix before I jump into value analysis. He does not have any sustain, so in your PvP, and to a lesser point PvE teams, you are going to want a healer. Ignis is probably ideal, especially because she can feed him energy for these huge actives. Belrain is a good second choice, and a lot of people have Belrain instead of Ignis. And I'm also looking forward to him just being good against A and B Russell, but also Sword Flash Shia. Her attack is so high, he's going to be able to steal that. He's going to be able to do a ton of damage to her. It's almost like we have a soft counter to a hero that's not even out yet that people were scared of. So it's really exciting. So that's going to be it for my Tix preview. That said, stay tuned. I'm hoping to have some Tower of Oblivion and Aspen content for him soon. Probably some from accounts other than my main account, but we'll see. And let's jump right into the value analysis. If you're scared of math like Chairman, feel free to leave now. Alright guys, I know this video has run a little long, but I did promise to cover the value analysis for the current Autumn Blessings as well as the Puppet package. So if you don't want to see the math, feel free to leave now. So first up we have the Gold Autumn Blessings package. This gives you 35 million Spirit, 3,500 Promotion Stones, and 7 Heroic Scrolls over the course of a week for 30 million gold. So here's the math for my account. Note that the prices for Spirit as well as the cost of this package are based on my account, which gets 8 million gold for 50 gems for the first purchase from the new Hand of Midas. So that said, you are going to need to modify these values based on your Hand of Midas costs. That said, the break-even value for this package, so if the cost of it was 1,600 gems, so where you'd be barely profiting, that's 937,500 gold per 50 gems. So if your Hand of Midas first daily purchase is bigger than 937,500, we'll call it 1,000,000, this package is worth it for you, and the higher that gets, the more value this package has. That said, if you don't value Spirit, it does get a little bit lower as you're only getting about 1,300 gems worth of value, so you will need to account for that. Next up, we have the Autumn Blessings Gem Package. So this gets you 7 skin shards, so 7 completed skin shards, 35,000 stone dust, and 14 heroic scrolls for 3,000 gems. So technically, this is 10,150 gems worth of value based on 125 gems per heroic scroll and the Celestial Island price for skin shards and dust. That said, all of you may not find these values to be correct for you. So personally, skin shards are worthless to me. I really would only use them to legendary some skins, which I don't do that often. I don't need to push more, so on and so on. So I think that the dust and the heroic scrolls are the only thing that have value to me. That said, it's still 5,950 gems worth of value for 3,000. The only way this package isn't worth it for you is if you don't care about skins or dust. So maybe you're a Mega Whale or an early game player and dust is less value. At that point, you're spending 3,000 gems for 1,750 gems worth of heroic scrolls, so do not buy it. Finally, we have I'm going to cover the Autumn Blessings Pay to Win package, as it is part of the 6-star Puppet package. So the Autumn Blessings Pay to Win package, you get 7 5-star heroes for basic shards, 4,662 gems, and 21 heroic scrolls. So each 5-star hero is worth about 400 gems if you buy them from Event Raid, which is a pretty good value. So that means that this sachet, this Autumn Blessing package, is worth 10,087 gems. So if we plug that value into the 6-star Puppet package, which comes with 1,500 gems, 30 heroic scrolls, a 6-star Puppet, and 1 key for this pay-to-win package, we get a total value of 17,737 gems for $20 US. This is insane value, and I cannot stress this enough. This means you're getting roughly 887 gems for every dollar you spend. To put this in perspective, a $100 package for a PO or a heroic scroll event gives you about 200 gems per dollar, and even the senior monthly privilege card only gives you 800 gems per dollar. This is even better than the monthly package which so many people buy. If you are not 100% free to play, I highly recommend you buy this. Everything in the package is useful. There's no dust or spirit. You're getting gems, scrolls, puppets, heroes, more gems, and more scrolls. Everything is useful for every player at every level of the game. I highly recommend you purchase this. So I know this one went a bit long, but I did cover a ton about the new hero and some value. But be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you like the content, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.